Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to Getting Creative with iQ4 PDFs, templates, and more. We spend so much time talking about how to use your iQ4 board, but my favorite thing to talk about is all the little tricks you can do with it to make instruction really fun. So with that, I think we should get started. If you don't know me, my name is Michelle, and what you might also know about me is I usually go by Mish. And I am a learning and community designer here at SMART. And prior to doing that, I was a kindergarten and first grade teacher for Chicago Public Schools. And I've been around town with SMART. I was a PD specialist and traveled all over the US and Canada and facilitated PD with folks. Then I switched to the consulting team. And another fun fact about me is I speak Russian. What you'll see in the corner of the screen here is a QR code, and that'll take you to my Teach with Misha Instagram. The only thing you'll find on there is quick tips and tricks on how to use your smart board, whether you've got an iQ4 board, MX or RX, if you use Lumia, whatever it is that you use, maybe you're a GX Plus user. I have lots of different tips and tricks that you can follow along there, lots of which I'll show you in our webinar today, but those are easy to access also on your phone anytime you're scrolling through social media, so give me a follow there. And with that, I'm also going to have you guys join my lesson live time. So what you're going to do is go to hellosmart.com. You're going to click on join as a guest. And then my class ID is 181461. Now, quick pause here. I want you to think about yourself as a learner. If you feel like, hey, just watching the call, that's more than enough for me. I'd like to just sit back and observe. I'm good with that option. But if you are feeling like I've got two screens, I want to navigate kind of two different tabs, go ahead and join live time. And what I'm going to do is start my session so that when you are logged in, you will see my screen. hellosmart.com, join as a guest. And then my class ID is 181461. You'll also see that rotating in the bottom of the screen there. If you have any questions throughout our time together, please feel free to drop those in the chat. I have got my amazing colleague Holly behind the scenes there who can answer any questions that may come up. And with that, we'll get started. If you haven't joined yet, no worries. You'll still be able to no matter where I am on the page. So what I would love to know is what is one win that you've had using SMART lately, whether that is a feature that you discovered, a great student moment, something that made teaching a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do is, if you didn't know, when you're in the whiteboard, you can click on your two little people. And then what you can do is convert the page to an activity. So I'm going to drop that down. I'm going to select whole class whiteboard. And then you, on your side, if you're connected, on the left side of your screen, will have a couple of editing tools. You'll see a pencil. You'll see the letter A. If you click on A, then click on the screen, you'll have a little text box that appears. So take a moment to share what is one win that you've had using SMART recently. Maybe that's a new feature you discovered, a great student moment, or something that made teaching a little easier. I asked a couple of folks this in another call earlier today. We had some folks that found some different things in the toolbox that we'll explore later together today. I had some folks that didn't know that you could connect this way to a whiteboard lesson to increase collaboration. And as you're typing on there, what I really love about having y'all participate with me in a whole class whiteboard is that you've got multiple means of expression. So you could, if we were in class together, you could raise your hand and you can chat with me, but then I'd like to think about all of my students. Maybe raising their hand is not for every student, whether they're feeling shy, maybe they're learning a new language, maybe they've got an IEP, maybe they're just trying to look cool in front of their buddies. Raising their hand is not for everyone, and I really like giving a different entry point for people to discuss and to be able to document their thinking. And so on here, looks like I've got love the great math webinar led by Mahina a few weeks ago. That was a huge SMART win. If you didn't catch that, you can find that on our webinar page. I learned that you can drag the Chrome icon from the main navigation bar to the board to instantly split your screen. That was the call that I was on earlier today. I did not know you could do that. I'm super pumped about it. I'm actually going to show that to you. I learned it this morning and I fit it in because I want to talk to you guys later about it today. I did not know you could do it, and I was so excited. Even I learn new things during these webinars. All right, so in a moment, I'm going to pull up a shout it out for us. If you've not done a shout it out similar to a whole class whiteboard, Whole class whiteboard is more collaborative. It's a lot of student touch. Your students can see each other's responses. They can react to them. They can contribute. But a shout it out is much more teacher touch. You'll see in a moment, all you'll see on your end is a submission box. And this is an activity that we're going to pretend like you guys are my high school ELA students and we just got done reading novels for the school year. So when you see that submission box, we're just going to pretend, and it can be any book. It doesn't have to be one that you would have read in high school language arts. Drop for me a book that you really enjoyed reading. So what I'm going to do is click on my little plus icon, and I'm going to click on Shout It Out. And now on your side, I'm going to click Start. You should see a submission box. So we're going to pretend like you guys are my high school ELA students, perhaps, and tell me one of your favorite novels. This is just a quick language arts idea for you. So maybe you're at the end of the year and you're reviewing the novels that you would have read this year. Again, it can just be any book that you would have read this year if you're one of my readers. I just got done reading last night. I finished reading, what is it called? The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. And that was a thriller and it was quite exciting. Harry Potter. And then there were None by Agatha Christie. So a couple of books here. So now, how can I make this even more interactive and interesting for my students? So it's the end of the school year. We just got done doing a novel study. What I'm going to do is scroll up from the bottom of my screen and pull up my actual iQ toolbar. And on the right, you'll see a toolbox. And one of the options there is a spinner. Now, when I click on it, I quickly did this behind the scenes, but I'll show you how I did it. City of Brass, thank you. There's another contribution, Beartown. We're doing a novel study. We finished up the year, and these were different things that we learned about as we were reading novels, is thinking about books from different lenses. So maybe we talked about character growth and development. Maybe we focused on theme, conflict resolution, different perspectives over the tone of the novel. So I had all my students contribute. They put what their favorite books were. What's really cool about a Shout It Out is I could actually sort these. Let's just say we only read 4 novels together. I could sort those out. And then let's say, oh, I happen to know that that might be Noelle. Hey, Noelle. And Noelle read Harry Potter. And let's take a spin here. And then it lands on conflict. And then my challenge to Noelle will be like, what was the conflict in that book? And let's dive into that. So just a fun little interactive activity. You do have these spinners in your smartboard. So again, where did I find that? Scrolling up, I have that toolbox. And then you've got your spinner. Once I clicked on it, it did open to the last spinner that I used. I'm signed into the board. So this one, saved to my profile. Noelle also just read The Perfect Marriage. We will have to talk about that together, Noelle. And so what you can do here is click on your settings gear. And the top option there is List. And here you have the ones that have like the filled in stars. Those are the preset lists that come with your smartboard. But I like to create my own. You'll notice that I've created some for my primary students on digraphs. I have a history example, some social studies ones, some word families. But if you'd like to create your own, you would just click on that little plus button. You would pick your title. So again, you could have done, let's just say, word families. Move that over. And then you would add each part of your spinner by clicking on new item. You can pick your color and then start to type. Again, I am signed into the board, and so all of the spinners that I would create to use with my students will save. These are great to use for your student names, so you can randomize the picking order there. And I know a question we get often is, hey, that's not enough pieces of pie for how many students I have. You could actually have more than one spinner out, so maybe you've got your students A to C, D to F, so on and so forth. You can definitely have multiple of those on your screen at a time. The 6 dots on the bottom indicate that you can move it around, and the lines in the corner indicate that you can resize it, and those will float over anything that you might do, not just in the whiteboard, but your smartboard in general. You'll see if I go home, those do stay with me, so if I always want to have my student names there, I can. Quick pause. I don't think I have any questions. Perfect. All right, the next thing I would love to talk about is importing a PDF. This is great for so many reasons. Whether you want to save time and you don't want to make copies, you don't want to have papers here and there, you simply just don't have time. Or if you want to model, if you don't have a document camera, this is a really great way to model how to complete an activity for your students, or you can make it interactive and make it into a center. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm still in my Smartboard's whiteboard. I'm going to click on the plus button in the bottom right corner. And then I'm going to click on, in the bottom right, you'll see Insert File. Now, what I had it saved on my Google Drive. I'm a Google user, so that's where I'm going to go find it. In the top, I'm going to click on my 3 lines, and then I'm going to go to Google Drive. You'll see my email there, and I organized what I needed into my IQ activities, and I had this worksheet that I created in Canva. And so I actually did it like this because now we could make it into a center. I highly encourage you guys, let your students touch your boards. I don't know if you can hear in StreamYard, but I did punch it quite hard. I don't know if StreamYard quite tells you how loud I just did that, but it is okay to let your kiddos touch your boards. So how do I make this interactive? What I'm going to do is scroll back up and go to that toolbox again, but this time I'm going to click on Dice. I revealed my secrets already because I didn't reset it, but I don't know if you knew this, but in the middle, you have a little button that has a little picture of different types of dice. And in there, you don't just have to use the regular kind that we're all used to. I selected a 4-sided one and then a 12-sided one. If I wanted to, I could get rid of that one, maybe add a 20-sided. And then once I close that out, those will be right there. For me, you could also change the colors. And so the idea is I made this into a center that my students can come and interact with on their own. So they'll just click on that little icon to get the dice rolling. And then maybe I'm partner 1 and I'd like to do multiplication first. So I'll do 5 times 1 equals 5. Partner 2 comes up and they'll maybe also want to do multiplication and they'll do 14 times 4. I always joke, but it's to protect myself. I'm a kindergarten teacher. I'm not going to embarrass myself and try to solve that in front of everyone right now. And just give me one moment here. There it is. I want to make sure you guys can see what it is that I'm showing you. Looks like it might have booted you out. Perfect. Okay, you guys should be seeing what I'm seeing now if you guys do have that tab open. So again, if you maybe had a worksheet in front of you, this would be a really good way for me to model what I'm doing. And also documenting those notes. Maybe we did a lesson together. Maybe we had our homework. We took some really good notes. I would really like for all those things to save. And then this is now an activity that my students could have done. You can import a vertical PDF. I happened to save this one in like a slide size, so I knew it would fit my Smartboard perfectly, but I imported it and now I've made it into an activity. All right. You might have not known this, but we got a brand new feature in the Smartboard and it is our line tool. So really quick, what I'm going to do is come to my little plus sign. I'm going to go to a blank page. Now, before there was 2 ways that you could do lines. You could try your best and you could draw a straight line, mostly straight. If you didn't know, you could always click in your 3 dots, click on your measurement tools, and you have a ruler, and you could actually use that ruler to make a straight line as well. You'll notice now that I did have a nice straight line, but now there's one more way you could do it. In my 3 dots, there's a new button right there. You'll see like an arrow and a dotted line. And now that it's selected, you can tell it's selected because it's blue. I can come out here and draw, and I can change. Why isn't this working with me? Well, sometimes technology doesn't work, and that's okay. I've been using my board all day long today. Sometimes it just needs a reset. But what would happen is if I had that selected and I just tapped on the screen, there it goes. Now it's working. Thank you for coming through. You'll notice that anytime I tap, a straight line comes up. I can unselect that there, and then I can use my finger again to move my line. I can make it longer. I can change the color, the thickness. I can add an arrow or a dot to the end of it. And I can also change it to be dotted, a little bit thicker or a little bit thinner. Now, I'm always thinking, like, this is a really cool tool, but how can I make it into an activity? Now, former kindergarten teacher here, what I'm going to do now is grab myself a blank page, click my three dots, and you'll notice that in that three dot menu, there is a circle that's got some graph paper in it. Those are my backgrounds. What I'll do is in my backgrounds, I have a handwriting paper one in there. So what I'm going to do, this is another way to use that line tool. So I'm just going to grab my pen, and maybe we're learning how to write the letter B. I'm going to go to my pen tool. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. And I'm going to start writing the letter B for my students. Again, I love to use my board as a center. I like to get my students up and interacting with the board. So what I'm going to do now is the, let's say, fourth button that you'll see on your toolbar. It looks like that dotted rectangle. That is my selector tool. Now that it's selected, I'm going to drag my finger across the screen, and I'm going to grab all of those at the same time. And what I'm going to do is you'll see that same little menu that you got when we were making lines. And I'm going to make those dotted. Now, I know my kindergartners, sometimes it might be a little bit hard for them to remember that we're not moving anything around, we're just tracing. So I'm going to make this as easy and as usable as possible for them. So now what I'll do is click that down arrow, and I'm actually going to lock that up for them. So now they can't move those around, but the page still moves. Let's add one more of our newer features. Down in your three dots again, you'll now notice it just got added a couple months ago. All the way to the right, there's a rectangle with a lock icon. And now the canvas position is locked. If I had movable pieces inside, they would still be interactive, but now the physical page is locked in place so they can't zoom it in or out, which does get our kids a little bit flustered. It gets me flustered. So now as a student, maybe I want to use, maybe purple is my favorite color. Maybe for me, I like it when it's a little, the line is a little thicker. And now I can come up here and I can start to trace my letters. So the line tool is great for you as a teacher. Yes, I sure can, Noelle. It's really great for teachers to make straight lines, but you can also do little tracing activities, which is great for your preschool and kindergarten teachers. So how did I do that? One more time. The question was, can you show one more time how you made the letters dotted? All I did, let me come back to just using black here, is I started to just write. And now that I've, anything that you kind of scribble onto your screen, you can just click, and that menu will pop up now that'll show you that you can change the color, you can change the thickness, you can add an arrow if you needed to, and then the next one there is dotted. You can do those, or you could do those. Karen, no, you cannot turn the right to text letters into dotted as well, but that is something that we certainly can submit to our user voice. That is a great idea. I think I've got my whole, all my Washington friends in the chat with me today. Hey guys. So let's go to the next page here. And I really love using the ready-made templates that we've got in the board. So really quick, what I'm going to do is come back to that plus button. And in my graphic organizers, I'm going to open up my 3-column chart. Now, maybe I'm with my middle school students and we're working on some SEL, and I've got a couple of questions for them. So it's the end of the week and I want to know from my kiddos, let's do one thing I'm proud of. And you will excuse my handwriting because I'm a little too short for how tall my board is. Maybe we'll do something I'm struggling with. And then let's also do maybe for our kiddos, one way I can help. Maybe I want them to reflect on something that someone else said and how they can help. So again, coming to my little people icon, I'm going to go ahead and turn that into a whole class whiteboard. And then if you guys could pretend to be my middle school students for just a moment, I'm going to do a couple of fun things here for us to make this even more interactive. So one thing you're proud of this week, something I'm struggling with, and one way I can help. Let's imagine that we are middle school students. as you're working on that, someone in the chat, Miss Kara, said, hey, you can do write to text. Something that I'm going to add to this to make it more interactive. I got 100% in my math quiz. I finished my math homework early. Things that I would never, ever do. That would be something that I would be struggling with. But how about this? What I'm going to do is go to my pen tools. And if you didn't know, you can actually click on the pen that has an uppercase and lowercase a in it. And that is my write to text pen. So what I'm going to do is just in the bottom right corner here, I'm going to draw a heart. No, you don't want to work with me today. That's okay. Let's erase it. Let me try one more time. There we go. And then maybe I'll draw a happy face. And then maybe I'll also draw a question mark. One thing I really like for my students to do is to give them different ways to collaborate with each other, kind of react to those responses. So what I'll do is click on my heart, and I'm going to click Infinite Cloner. And I'll do that. Maybe we'll do the heart eyes one. I can switch that up. Click on it again, and I'll infinitely clone all of those. And so now my students would be able to drag and drop those emojis there to react to each other. So maybe someone really loved, they want to give a quick shout out. Finish my homework. I love that you finished your homework. Or, maybe I'm wondering why someone said, what do you think we could maybe talk together about this? Or I love that someone says, I'd love to find someone new to be partners with, not just my friends. Like, that was a great idea. So you can always there's different ways that you can infinitely clone those. Kristen, I would love if you actually sent me a screenshot of what it looks like on your end. And what I'm going to do is pop my email for you in the chat. All right, so really quick, another thing that you can do is you can infinitely clone anything on your screen. So like, let's just say, even if I use the highlighter and I made a scribble, I could click on that scribble and I could also infinitely clone that. So you can infinitely clone anything. But let's just say you want to do something more than just like the heart or maybe the question mark. You want it to keep things a little bit interesting. Did you know that you can also drag and drop images from Google right into your whiteboard, and you could also infinitely clone that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split my screen. I'm going to send the whiteboard over to one side, and I'm going to get Google Images here on the other. So I'm going to really quickly search for, let's just say, my students, I'll talk about one of my kiddos. I had a kiddo in my class that was really, really motivated by anything that was Toy Story themed. That really got him excited to learn. So maybe I want to support that kiddo. So I'll just type in Toy Story. I'm going to go to Images. And I've got a little Google hack for you. This is unrelated to the smartboard, but a little Google hack. What you can do is click on Tools. Then you'll click on Color. And I'm going to click on Transparent. So it's going to pull up images for me that are transparent. So let's just say I click on my little friend here. You'll see that he's got that little checkered background. That does indicate for me that it should be transparent. So now what I can do is press and hold and then drag it over to my whiteboard. Hopefully this works. My board has been making me look quite silly today. There it goes. Now the transparent didn't work, unfortunately, because like I said, my board really likes to embarrass me on Sundays, but I can resize that. And I would also be able to infinitely clone. So if that was something that my students needed to infinitely clone, if I wanted to make some custom manipulatives, that would work as well. Take a quick pause. You know what I think my board needs is a good reset, but sometimes we can't do that in the middle of a webinar, so that is A-okay. All right. Thank you for my friend Holly backstage. It's letting me know when things just sometimes don't go my way. All right, just a moment ago, you watched me split my screen just to show you again how I did that. So here I am in my whiteboard. I'm going to scroll up, and I have that little icon that has a square with 2 lines to the right of it, and it's going to show me all the different windows that I have open. And if I click split, you'll see that the whiteboard comes all the way over to one side. And for this, let's go ahead and just stay in our call. So you'll go ahead and leave where you guys are logged in with me as students. And I can, again, pull up my Google Chrome to be on the other side. Now, fun fact, you can double tap right in the middle to switch sides. Maybe you're standing on one side and it's easier for you to teach from over there. And it also doesn't have to be split 50-50. You could also drag it over to be 75-25 in either direction. And to close it, you can go ahead and send it all the way over. Now, 2 more fun facts for you. You could split screen with 2 different Chrome tabs. There's a few different ways you could do it. I have Chrome open right now with my 3 dots in the top right corner. I can do New Window. And now automatically it created a split screen with 2 separate Google Chromes for me. Now here's something really fun that I learned today. Is let's just say I was in Google Chrome and my friends in Washington taught me this. Is what I can do is on my toolbar on the bottom of my screen, I'm going to press and hold that Google Chrome icon and then I'm going to drag it up. You see there, it's kind of already creating that split screen for me. You can see that it's thinking about it. And when I let go, that split screen is set for me. I did not know that you could just press and hold Google Chrome and go up like that. My friends taught me that today, and I thought that was really, really neat. How am I on time? Perfect. Okay. All right. So I didn't want to overwhelm anyone with too many different activities for today. What I wanted to do was make sure that you saw everything that you needed to just for today, and you also knew about the resources. So here is what I'm going to close out with. If you've not used our Smart Academy before, it is a really good place to go to learn. No matter what kind of board you have, whether you've got an older MX board, if you've got a 6000 board or a newer RX board, if you've got a GX board, whatever it is that you need, if you go to Smart Academy, and that is at academy.smarttech.com, Holly just put that in the chat for us, you can go in and make a new account and you can take your courses there. Those do count as credit hours. You do get a certificate at the end of each course. Now, just quick caveat, if you used our Academy, let's say before the school year, it was hosted on a different platform. If you've already completed courses there, all you'll do when you go to the new Academy, go ahead and click Forgot Password, and then what you'll do is put in your existing email and it'll transfer all of your finished courses over to the new Academy. So make sure that you check that out. And what's really cool, we're all here to learn about iQ4. iQ4 is having new features and updates kind of roll out pretty often over the next year. And so we added another course. You'll kind of see on the bottom here of the screen. There's one called What's New in iQ. So you've got your Getting Started with iQ course, but now that things will be kind of getting updated and changes will be happening, this What's Getting New in iQ is where new features will get added. So there's one right now for all the things that got added just a couple months back. In a few months, we'll add into that course as well when even more features start to come out there as well. All right, so we love making sure that you have all the resources that you need. So if the Academy is something that's helpful, you like that tactile, self-paced approach, that is a really good place for you to go because it'll give you like a stimulated smartboard to interact with. You also have access to our webinars like we are here today. I will have another one of these webinars specifically focused on iQ in April, hopefully talking a little bit more about math with our friend Michelle Conway. If you've not heard, she is super excited to come do another webinar with us. But this webinar page will also have any of our past webinars on there as well. Our YouTube page has a variety of like 2 to 3 minute clips kind of going over, hey, how do I sign in the right way? How do I connect my students? And then what'll happen is I am working on adding even more little quick train videos onto our YouTube page as well. Kara asked, will we be notified about the new additions to that course if we are enrolled? That is a really good question, Kara. I actually have your email, so I'm going to follow up with that question and find out. I'm going to write it down so that I don't forget. And I will let you know. And then we also have our global community. If you're not yet, Holly is going to drop in an application to become one of our ambassadors. And that is a really good place to go. Kara, this also will answer your question as well, is that is where we go when we have new announcements, whether a new feature came out, also to connect with folks all over the world using Smart to just share different ideas. That's a really good place to be to stay connected. But I will also, Kara, let you know, because that's a really good question about that course being updated. My goal was to keep this right at 30 minutes. So how about that? If you have any questions, please drop those in the chat. And if not, there's a form for you in the chat. It's also right on the screen. When you complete that form, you will also get your certificate for attending today's webinar. But with that, thank you so much for your time, everyone.